Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy G Wiz, Gene Williams, streaming to you from Linan, China. This is my third year in China, and I'm from New York, and I'm a musician and an artist, and I teach English here in China. I woke up to some really devastating news for me that one of my heroes, one of my big-time major influences, COREA, passed away. And that was very shocking because COREA had been doing webinars and a lot of live streaming over the last year since the COVID. I had no idea. I mean, and when you talk about influences for me, Chick is up there. Chick is not just as a pianist, as a musician, but just as a human being. When people ask about your musical influences, it's usually the same three, Chick and Herbie. For some, Keith Jarrett. Keith Jarrett wasn't really one of mine, but it was always Chick, Herbie, Jan Hammer, George Duke, Joe Zawinul, and David Sanchez for me. Chick probably being the first of my influences growing up as a kid. Return to Forever was the Beatles for me. Just like saying John, Paul, George, and Ringo, it was Chick, Stanley, Al, and Lenny for me. Those were my Beatles. I was lucky enough to have very close personal relationships with Lenny White, who played drums in Return to Forever. It's family. So that had a great impact on me, and being close, having close access to not only that music of the time, but the actual musicians who created it. As a 15, 14-year-old kid, that impacts you for the rest of your life. I remember going to Lenny's house when he was still in Jamaica, Queens. It was about 1976, so it was hot off the trails of Romantic Warrior. That album is the one for me. That was the album. Not just, for Chick's piano playing, but as a synthesizer player. I've always considered myself more of a synthesizer player than a piano player, even though I've been playing piano longer. But being able to bend notes and that mini moog thing, that was the direction that I always wanted to go into. So when Romantic Warrior came out, it was a story, it was a concept album from beginning to end. It's still one of my on-rotation albums. So yeah, it had a tremendous impact on me, still does. So I never saw Return to Forever during that period of time, 1972, 1976. I kind of really got into them after the fact. So they became legendary to me, that listening to those albums. When they got together again for their 1982 reunion, that was my opportunity to actually see them live. And Lenny hooked me up, and we saw them at the Palladium. That was my first time seeing them live. I think that was the first time that Chick walked out with that Yamaha CS05 keyboard. You could strap it on, you could walk around with it. That's what I always wanted to do. That's the drag about being a piano player. The guitar players have all the fun. Bass players, they can all step out in front. Everybody loves the drummer because that's the biggest instrument, so everybody looks at the drums. Keyboard players, we kind of, we're off to the side. We're there, but, everybody's looking at everybody else. So when Chick walked out with that and he was soloing with it, I was like, I gotta have that. That was the first time. So Chick was kind of like, he was the leader of all that stuff for me. I had to get one. I got a CS05. Started strapping it around, going into distortions and delays and, rocking out with the guitar players, It was all because of Chick. George Duke had the Dookie stick too, but, that was a whole nother thing. That was more of a funk thing, but Chick had that screaming lead thing that I really gravitated towards like a guitar player. So yeah, it was always Chick. And then Chick moved on to the Yamaha KX5. I saw him with that several times with the electric band, and had to get one of those. So Chick was always influencing me. I met Chick at those reunions in 1982. I think that was the first time. It looked like Return of Forever, or that version of Return of Forever, would never get back together again. And they were doing some other projects. They were doing some acoustic projects like the Griffith Park Band, which Lenny produced, and he put that together, along with Echoes of an Era with Chaka Khan. Lenny put those projects together, and I believe they played at Town Hall in New York. Seeing them doing the Griffith Park Echoes of an Era thing and on acoustic instruments, more of a traditional jazz thing. And Chick was really into this Thelonious Monk kind of thing, you know. It was out, you know, but it was dope at the same time. But then they did the Return to Forever reunion, and that was my thing, the electric instruments, the keyboards and the synthesizers, and seeing Chick doing all of that stuff with the orchestrated keyboards and everything. That was my world. I've been very fortunate to have met a lot of my heroes in my lifetime. Chick was one of them. And every time I met him, he was very friendly. I remember after the 2008 reunion, I met Chick, and I showed him some of my drawings. He looked at the cartoons and he was like, "Oh wow, this is great! You did this? Wow! I draw too." I was like, "You do?" He says, "Yeah, I doodle." so I was like, "Wow, there's another great thing. No wonder I love you so much, man." You know, so Chick Corea is a true artist. You know, like Miles Davis too. You know, Miles Davis did some great art as well. Wayne Shorter also drew cartoons. Lenny White also. An excellent artist, so it just made sense for me to gravitate to these people, these creative people, and that's what I've always been about, you know, being creative. So these are my leaders. This is why I do what I do. When they did the Griffith Park Band, I drew a caricature of the band, and I showed it to Lenny, and Lenny loved it, and he was like, "Oh man, I want to use this. We're going to do a Griffith Park 2 album," and he said, "I want to try to use this for the project." This cartoon was always kind of a piece that I've been very proud of, and I gave it to Lenny as the Griffith Park group. It was a portfolio piece of mine. I think I was still in art school at the time. And Lenny loved the cartoon, and he's like, "I'm going to show this to Chick," and blah, blah, blah. I'm pretty sure Lenny has the original of this, so I made a copy for myself. I asked Lenny to sign it first, and then I hooked up with Stanley Clark, and he signed it. And then finally I met Chick, who signed it for me several years later, you know. So I managed to get all of their signatures here. Freddie Hubbard was actually the first to sign it. He signed a Xerox copy of it, but he didn't like it too much, so he signed it to Gene, no thanks, you know, so he wasn't. And then Joe Henderson, I never got. But these were my three, though. Like I said, these were the Beatles to me: Chick, Lenny, and Stanley. And I have their signatures on my copy of this cartoon that I created. You know, I cherish this. I'll cherish this for the rest of my life. I brought it with me here to China. Also, another one of my prized possessions is my backstage pass, all access to the after show for the Return to Forever reunion. And this was the last one that Al Di Meola did. You know, I heard about all the drama on that tour. You know, after that, I kind of knew, oh, this is it for that band. But they did get back together again for the Return to Forever 4 lineup, which featured Frank Gambale and Jean-Luc Ponty. It feels like family for me. Big part of my life. The music is still here, but man, just knowing that Chick is gone now, you know, like I said, he was doing webinars and very active on YouTube. I watched what he was doing, and I was like, this is why this is one of my heroes, right? Always forging forward and moving ahead. When I started teaching music at the Boys Club of New York, we had a great music program. And once the kids got good enough with their instruments, started introducing them to Chick's music. And of course, Spain was probably the first one. That's the logical one. And the kids always enjoyed the challenge of playing that music. And every year we would try to push it forward. Myself, as a piano teacher, and Rich Harrison was teaching the kids drums, and we had some great drum students as well. we would always talk about, what are we going to do next year for the kids' performance, and each performance would get bigger and bigger. We would move from the clubhouse in Harlem to a couple of shows at the Apollo and then Juilliard, and so every show kind of got bigger and bigger, and we were challenged as teachers to figure out what can we teach the kids next that will really challenge them and impress the parents and everybody else. So I think we taught them Spain first. And then a few years later, this prodigy came up to the club, this kid named Clayton Stevenson. And he was a Juilliard student, great classical pianist, so sort of a purist as far as classical music. And his mother brought him up to the boys' club. And I guess she heard about our jazz program, our boys club music program. It wasn't a jazz program. We taught them everything that we grew up listening to. So we taught them Rush and Yes and Weather Report and Earth, Wind and Fire, Stevie Wonder, The Temptations. We went through the whole Motown thing, so we taught them everything that we grew up listening to. So when this kid Clayton came, and his mother had him play for me, and it was like, I don't know what you want me to do with him. And his mother said, well, he's great with classical. Well, I don't want you to show him that. I want him to be exposed to other music like jazz. So I said, okay. First thing I thought of was Keith Emerson. And Clayton didn't like Keith Emerson. I played him pictures at an exhibition, and like I said, Clayton was a purist. He heard pictures at an exhibition, and he just said, it's wrong. It's wrong. So I said, all right, next, we won't do Keith Emerson. So then I pulled out the Chick Corea book, and the kid could sight read and everything, and, he really liked it. So we went through the book. And then when the time came where we had to put ensembles together, I was like, okay, how can I get Clayton into this and get the other students up on that level to do something together? It was Richie, really. It was like Rich Harrison, because he was teaching the drums, Hymn of the Seventh Galaxy. And I never learned that as a kid. I had the book, but it was always too hard. So when Rich was teaching the kids, his drum students, Hymn of the Seventh Galaxy, I had to jump on that as an opportunity to not only learn Hymn of the Seventh Galaxy myself, but to teach it to some of my kids. Kids really appreciate good music when they hear it. They know it. All you have to do is play it for them. And then when you try to show them how to play it, boys especially, they're up to the challenge. Well, how do you do that? What, show me that. Play that again. And then it becomes a competition with kids. When they see one kid doing something, they're like, oh, I could do that too. And they'll sit there and they'll work for hours just to try to keep up with the other kid. So having this kid, Clayton Stevenson, who could just knock this stuff out, really had an impact on these other kids. So we were focused for a whole year on Chick Corea. We turned it into a medley, so we went from Hymn of the Seventh Galaxy, and this other kid, he was like, I want to do it, can I play on that, can I play on that? So they were so focused on the Chick Corea thing. They knocked it out. And I was very proud of it, very proud of the work that they did. And the feedback that I had gotten from the parents, they did Hymn of the Seventh Galaxy? I never even learned that, So everybody was really impressed by that, and I was very proud. So I uploaded video of the kids' performances on YouTube, and I sent it to Lenny, who was like, yo, I'm in the studio. You got to come up here right away. Right? So Lenny was very excited to hear these kids playing Chick's music and Return to Forever. And we learned it pretty much note for note. So it was on point. Lenny was very excited about it. He sent it to Chick and Stanley. But once Chick got it, he posted it on his Facebook. And that was like, oh my God. And Chick had given really glowing praise and compliments to the young kids. So that was it. That was it for me, But unfortunately, the administration at the time of the Boys Club, they were not that impressed. I don't know what it was. Either they didn't understand it. They wanted us to dumb the program down. So I'd seen a notice that the administration gave to our director, my boss, Malcolm. Literally, it said, "No Chick Corea for the next performance." I was like, what? And I explained to them, well, Chick Corea even loved this. He shared it on his Facebook page. It was such an insult to me, man. You know, all the work that I put into it, and Rich Harrison and the kids, it turned out to be the beginning of the end for my association with the Boys Club of New York. All things work out because here I am in China. But anyway, after that happened, I went to San Francisco to visit some family, and I was attending a San Francisco Black Film Festival. I found out that Chick and Stanley would be playing with Jack DeJohnette at Yoshi's, which wasn't too far from where my cousin lived, and I was staying at my cousin's house. So I said, oh, wow, great. You know, that'll give me something to do tonight. It was the first time I saw Chick and Stanley without Lenny, you know, because, like I said, those guys were my Beatles, you know. So to see Chick and Stanley with Jack DeJohnette was a whole nother dynamic. And this was just a few months after the kids had done the performance, and I ran into Chick and Stanley after their performance at Yoshi's. I said, oh, I want to thank you for sharing my student's video. And Chick said, oh yeah, those kids in New York, yeah. And he says, that put a big smile on my face. And I was like, man, that put a big smile on my face, you know. So I think that was the last time I'd seen Chick. I want to express my sympathies to Gail Moran. I have a really nice photo with both Chick and Gail. Gail Moran is very underrated. When they did that final Return to Forever 4 reunion with Jean-Luc Ponty and Gambale, they were kind of giving Jean-Luc Ponty his props for having played with both Mahavishnu Orchestra and Return to Forever. And I had to remind them, it was almost like Gail forgot that she did it first. You know, Gail Moran played with both Mahavishnu Orchestra and Return to Forever as well. So I had to give her props, and I think they appreciated the fact that I recognized that, because a lot of other people did not. We lost Mary Wilson last week, one of the original Supremes, and I had done some work with her at the Apollo as well. She hosted a Motown tribute that some other kids that I was working with at the Housing Authority in New York, and she was very nice. It's really sad. It's really sad. Man, what can I say, man? Chick Corea. This is a legend, man. This is an icon. You know, I just wanted to make this video because, you know, nobody here, even other expat teachers, they don't know this music. They don't know Chick Corea. You know, they might listen to Bob Seger or, you know, Alabama or something like that, you know, but when it comes to jazz and you know, especially on the level of Chick Corea, nobody here really knows. I just wanted to post this video here and talk about it because really there's nobody for me to talk about this here. I'm so glad and honored to have grown up with Chick Corea as a hero. Rest in peace, Chick Corea. You know, your music will definitely live on forever. I know this video is a little different from the videos that I have been posting on this channel. It's different from the China vlogs. This was just something that I had to do because my channel is very personal. You know, I don't really make videos for the algorithm. My China vlogs don't really get a lot of, it's not really pushed out by the algorithm. And I don't know, I guess the algorithm is confused by my channel, you know, starting off as music related and now it's this China travel kind of thing, you know. But hey, that's what my life is. It's not just one thing, you know. It's multifaceted, and that's what I try to be as well. You know, music, art, travel, teaching. My influences like Miles Davis and Chick Corea and Herbie Hancock, they never just did one thing either. They set the standard for the way that I live my life. So celebrate your heroes, man. I was very lucky to know who my heroes were at a very early age, and they remain to be my heroes. Herbie, Chick, Stanley Clarke, Lenny White. You know, I really love you all. I'm honored to have at least a little association with what you guys have done. Anyway, I'm out. I'm your boy G Wiz. Subscribe, click the like button, thumbs up. I have more videos coming here from China for you. So stay tuned, and Happy New Year.